Welcome back. Let's discuss, GMO now. The safety of genetically modified organisms for consumption in Nigeria is a topic of ongoing discussion, with NAFDAC and the National Biosafety Management Agency assuring the public that approved GMOs are safe for consumption in the country. Now, genetically modified organisms are plants, animals, or microorganisms whose DNA has been altered using genetic engineering techniques to give them specific traits that don't occur naturally through traditional breeding. Just recently, NAFDAC's Director General Mojisola Adeyeye addressed the growing public concerns over GMO consumption and regulation in Nigeria, saying that GMOs are not bad for us, depending on what type of foods they are and whether the safety considerations have been taken into account. She assured Nigerians that all approved GMO products in the market undergo rigorous evaluations before being cleared for consumption. Now, in the context of food and farming, GMOs are often created to increase crop yields, boost resistance to pests and diseases, improve nutrition, and enhance shelf life. Now, proponents of GMOs say the technology is the only way to feed a warming, increasingly populous world and address food security. While many scientists and regulators say approved GMOs are safe to eat, they remain controversial because of concerns over long-term health effects, environmental impacts, and of course, control of seeds by big corporations. Well, joining me now to discuss all of this, I have Professor Joseph Minari, who is a professor of physiology and molecular biology at the University of Lagos. Also joining us from Abuja is Julius Oga, who is an agro-entrepreneur. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Let me start with you, Professor Minari. Are GMOs actually safe for us to consume?
Yeah, thank you very much, DEJI, and that wonderful intro that you gave, I think is a very, very good intro. To a large extent, the GMO is safe, and one major thing that you said that's very, very key is that rigorous scientific procedure are always carried out on some of these things before they are released into the market. There are a lot of ethical consideration that is covering anything genetic modification or genetic or gene therapy. And so before most of them are being released into the market or into the society, a lot of rigorous scientific checks at different level must have been done before they are being released. And that is why we also have different agencies of government in each country that also need to cross-check to be sure that what they are releasing is actually safe. So if you want to say something is not safe, it's going to be that we are going to look at it scientifically and be able to prove it, or probably we have evidence after use that is actually showing it, and then we're able to correlate it directly that is as a result of what we have been releasing into the market that is actually not making it to be safe. So from a scientific point of view and from the parameters that we've seen so far, I can say that the ones that I know that have been released, they are safe for consumption.
Let me come to you, Mr. Oga. Look, with the vast amount of arable land we have in this country, uncultivated, do we really need GMOs?
I would say directly that we do not. The promoters of GMO are pandering to our fears. They are pandering to the obvious weaknesses we have in our society and the dysfunctional nature of our agricultural sector. They are playing up our fears so they can bring what is basically, intended for commercial production. GMO, as far as one can see from my point of view, is nothing but commerce. They are driving to push us into industrial agro production and monocropping. And then when that happens, you're going to have companies, seed companies, who have patented seeds and who are making farmers who before then were independent, who relied on what they harvest to get what they plant for the next year, becoming dependent because GMO seeds cannot be replicated, and they are patented by a company which owns the copyright to that seed. And so they are going to force people into a system of dependence that is not good for our kind of agricultural system. So we do not need GMO. If we can harness our agricultural potentials and all the arable land, if we can take care of our security challenges, we can grow our natural food. The almighty creator of the universe has given us perfect products that have survived from generation to generation. Not a lab-produced crop that you need to replicate every year, that you need to plant, harvest, and then go back to buy seeds in the market every year. And I want us, as a country, I want our government, I want NAFDAC, the regulatory agency who are watching this, to know that it has not been proven completely that GMOs are safe. So Nigeria has enough land to grow food, and if GMO companies and promoters of GMO have not been able to establish this in Western countries. There are Western societies where GMOs are being restricted or banned, completely banned. Russia only recently approved the import of GMOs obviously because of the war in Ukraine. Germany, France, Italy have banned or significantly restrict GMOs. And if NAFDAC must tell us that GMOs are safe, they should do what those countries are doing. They should come out and label GMO products so that people have a choice. Not a system where you just go to the market and something is sold to you and you don't know what you have purchased. But basically returning to the point you've asked. Nigeria has enough arable land, and the challenge we have is insecurity. And of course, climate change and alterations in weather and rain-fed agriculture. This we have adapted to very well. So let me leave it there.
Okay. Let me come to you, Prof. There's still controversy. I mean, despite the fact that, just as you said, science has proven GMO to be safe, but there's still controversy, and of course, Julius Oga was right. Quite a number of countries still do not accept GMO. But let's look at it. NAFDAC says, provided there's proper labeling of GMO food, but you go to the market now, you don't see this labeling that NAFDAC talks about. And then how can we be so sure that NAFDAC can provide the kind of regulation that you would need? The kind of rigorous testing that you talked about that will be required before some of these GMOs are allowed into the country and allowed for human consumption. Because, look, things get smuggled into this country. They come through our borders anyhow. And if NAFDAC is now giving all of GMOs now a seal of authority, so to speak, don't you think some unscrupulous people would use that opportunity now to just bring? Because I go to the market, I don't see any labeling at all.
Okay, thank you, DEJI. Firstly, I want to make a comment concerning a little bit on what Mr. Oga spoke on concerning availability of arable lands. I understand that some of these things are controversial and is being debated for quite some time. But I want to put some context and some statistics to it.
Okay.
Yes, we say that we have arable lands, but don't let us forget that, number one, we have increase in population. Number two, how many people are farmers here? Number three, let me tell you something. In Africa, we have agriculture have employed about 46% of the population of Africa. In other words, approximately half of population of Africa engage in farming. In the US, which we probably have one of the highest places that we have GMO products, 1.2, it's just 1.2 that are farmers. But because some of those products have been engineered and they have maximal yield and resistance to some of these insects that actually affect some of our products, the net, what do they call it now, of the US is they are net exporters of food products. They are net exporters of food products. Meanwhile, Africa, that we have half of us into farming, we are net importers of food products. So even with or without the insecurity, with the rate of our population that is growing, even Nigeria, for example, if you extrapolate what Nigeria is going to be in the next few years, we just have to look at, let me tell you something, that there are so many things we've been using that are product of GMOs. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
The insulin injection that we take. Insulin injection is gotten from the human insulin that has been drafted into E. coli and then use E. coli to mass produce. That's genetic engineering. That's recombinant DNA. That is before the 80s, we used insulin from cow to inject human being, and people are getting allergic to it. Now we have to engineer microorganism, draft in insulin. In fact, that is the original name where you got that genetic modified organism. It is now that it's been extrapolated to plants and other forms of animal to produce, to increase it. So when we look at it, some of the countries that we are complaining of, even in the US, we still have people that are against it. But like Mr. Oga has rightly said, and you also rightly alluded to, I am also in the support that the regulators should ensure that it should be labeled. People should not be forced to buy it. It should be labeled that this is organic product and this is genetically modified product. But I can assure you, in the nearest future, we just need it, because you can't, yes, we have land from Lagos to Ibadan or from other areas, you see land, but you can't force people to the farm. And even people that are even in the farm, what is the yield that we are getting? What is the yield we are getting from it? We need, okay, there was a time we have the tuta absoluta on our tomatoes.
Yes.
And then everything skyrocketed. Everything skyrocketed. If we allow science to deal with it, we can have a particular species of it that could be resistant. Because some of those things, and when you do those things, you ensure that the nutritional quality is not being compromised from the scientific point of view, and the regulators also will ensure that they will have checked it to ensure that it does not compromise nutritional standard and it does not have any health risk. Health risk, it doesn't have health risk. So we need to ensure that those things are properly done, labeled, and I think those are the things we should be advocating for. But if we say we want to stay put to the traditional method, everything is moving, everything is being driven. We can't say because we use donkey to travel abroad in those days that we are not going to enter plane. As it comes, we need to advance, we need to move ahead. It's the issue of patenting. One of the major environmental challenge, is because of genetic diversity. You don't want to lose the wild type, and because of that, some of those seeds has been made sterile, so that you cannot. It won't be, if it's a thing you can reproduce, definitely it's going to wipe out the wild type. And because of diversity, you don't want that original seed to go off, and because of that, you do it in such a way that it is sterile. You get it and plant it. But if we even think in this part of the world that is for economic reasons, and biotech companies, they've already patented and they want their money, why don't we, I've been an advocate of homegrown solution. Why don't we seek for a way to ensure that we produce our own here? We have our own biotech company here that will produce some of these things that will enhance the yield, that will make them drought resistance, that will make them pest resistance, that will make us to have a little period of time what's supposed to take longer years. We can produce them within a very short period of time. And that is going to really help our economic situation. And I can tell you for free that the more our economic situation improves, the better the security will be. So the climate change now that we are having, do you know that we can use some of this scientific method to even combat the climate change issue? The climate change is global, and that's why we need to look at some of this scientific driven solution. We can grow it from here. We have our own science here. Let's grow it from here. Don't let us be dependent. Don't let us see as if they are bringing something in. We should advocate that let's be able to develop our own. Let's be able to have our own biotech company here. Let's be able to grow our own seed here. Let's still maintain the wild type, and let's ensure that we're able to bring out some of these things and ensure that our economy booms again. Most of those things, like I told you, like the insulin injection, some of them are product of genetically modified already. So it makes it a little bit difficult if we don't believe in it at all. and then it's going to make us a little bit laid back, because going by the traditional method and by the rate at which our population is increasing, by 2050, you know what our population will be by then. It might be difficult for a country like ours to be able to feed itself. And that might be a major problem that can fuel insecurity in this country.
Let me go to you, Mr. Oga. Don't you think it's pretty obvious that, look, the way it is, we cannot adequately feed ourselves in this country, not just in this country, even across Africa, and that, look, if GMOs would help and they are not dangerous, then we should embrace it or embrace them?
All right, thank you very much. And I listened to the logic Prof just professed, and a lot of it makes good economic sense. But you would agree with me that food is not, the value of food is not just to fill an empty tummy.
That's true.
Food is a complement to good health. Food is medicine. Food is supposed to, there are certain vitamins and trace elements in food that enhance our health. That, for instance, you know, help in hormonal balancing in the body, maybe help with digestive problems, maybe even help improve vision, maybe help in health growth, help in stronger bones and all of that. Now, in the natural food that we have, all of this is not disputable. It cannot be disputed. It is naturally contained in food. When you take a strain from a strange crop, maybe you take a strain from a horse, you take a gene from a horse and implant it in a seed of corn, you know, to create resistance, you know, to create adaptation to harsh weather and drought and all of that. It sounds all good, but what is the cost-benefit analysis in the long run? How does this, you know, give us the right nutrients we want when we eat? Are we just eating to fill an empty belly, or are we eating to stay healthy? These are some of the arguments I want, you know, Prof, to also consider. And these are the fears that, because I started by saying, they are playing to the fears. Yes, population growth, fine. Too many people with too little food, insecurity and all of that, it is true. But why is someone patenting a seed of corn? Why do I have to sell off all I grow, or, you know, finish all what I grow and go back to the market and become seed dependent to someone who has become a seed company, whose stock in trade is to sell seeds? Why should I become dependent when for generation after generation, my grandmother, my father, my mother have been using the same, you know, continue to grow agriculture from their traditional? So I don't want Prof to mix up. I'm not saying we should continue shifting cultivation and all of that. I am saying that we can retain our natural seeds, our God-given seeds. We can expand the acreage of cultivation that we do. We do not need someone who has patented seed. You can't walk into Kenya and tell them that all the lions you have in the park will not survive drought. You have brought a lion you have patented. They should replace the one they have in the park. No, they should give us a chance. If they want to introduce GMO, they should do it at an experimental level, like an agro-extension process that allows them to grow, use particular areas, like in the far north where there's so much drought now. You have a GMO this thing, partner with a state and say, we're going to use this portion of your land, or give us a substantial acreage, 10,000 hectares, we want to grow, you know, Tesla maize. Use that, allow the local farmers who are within that environment to grow their own. Mind you, hybridization and GMO are not one and the same thing. Hybrids have always been there, they are natural. If you cross a horse from Spain with a horse from Argentina, that's hybridization. If you cross a cow from Sokoto with a cow in Adamawa, that's hybridization. If you cross white maize with red maize or different species of rice, it is still within the same strain. It's still the same within species. But when you now take a gene from a pig and implant it in corn, that is very unnatural. We have not seen the full scale of what will come from all of that. We cannot say in the next 10 years, we will not have seeds. We will not have wheats that have become resistant to herbicides. Let me give you a practical example. In the last 10 years, the herbicides we use, the pesticides we use are no longer effective today. Why is that? The reason is simple. Crops, natural crops have adapted. They have formed a level of resistance. And so you need to produce ever higher levels of more powerful chemicals and herbicides to dominate the environment. GMO will promote this to a level that we cannot see now. It is going to promote agriculture whereby I cannot do mixed cropping. Mixed cropping is very good. Science has proven that if you have legumes and you have grains growing side by side, they mutually benefit each other. But when you are going to have to grow only corn because beans cannot cohabit with corn because of the nature of adaptation you have made to the corn, it's just not right. And it's a danger that we're warning the public to beware of. The US, where Prof has cited, and other advanced countries that have allowed GMO, largely because of their population and largely because of commerce, mind you, because they grow these things and then ship to us. And then they tell their people, this is GMO, this is organic. Buy which one you want. But what they push to us, they just push to us. And we don't have that capacity, the institutional capacity to do what is right. It has been proven time and again.
Yeah,
so we don't want to become a dumping ground.
I haven't seen those labeling at all.
Yes, we don't have to become a dumping ground. If we want to experiment, Ahmadu Bello University, alongside the Biosafety Agency, are already doing that partnership. They're already doing it. And they've even come up with Tesla maize and a kind of cowpea that they've been promoting. But they should be doing it at the level of experimentation, not pushing it into the market, because the argument that our population is growing and we don't have enough food serves the purpose of the promoters of GMO. It doesn't serve our purpose when we look at the long-run effects and the cost-benefit of what is going to happen to our natural crops that are used to our natural environment over time. In the next 10 years, you bring GMOs, the farmers, because we lack the capacity and the institutional integrity to put everything in its own place and make people identify it right. Before you know it, those species have come and have dominated everywhere, and people become dependent, like I said. You farm corn, then the next year you have to go and buy seed from a seed producer. Let's consider this, the motive, the underlying motive for the promoters of GMO coming into third world countries and trying to, tell us we need patented seeds.
All right. Okay.
Please.
I think we'll just have to leave it there. Prof, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I really appreciate your coming on the program. Or you want to say a final thing? You have a final word?
Yes. What I just want to say is that what we should be advocating for is that this GMO should be labeled. People should not be forced to buy what they don't want.
Yes.
So it should be labeled and people should be aware.
Properly.
But we need it at this time for us to be able to move ahead to combat with our growing population.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming on the program. Professor Joseph Minari, University of Lagos, thank you very much for your time and thanks for coming on the show. And Mr. Julius Oga, agro entrepreneur, thanks a lot for your time and thanks for coming on the show. All right. Thank you. Well, that's how much we can take on the program this week. But thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.